Previously on the On College Basketball Podcast.
I feel like they're begging us to take Arizona.
They might be.
Top 15 team,
I know.
big brand. You giving them 5.5 points? I feel like there's some funny business going on.
Fire, man. I agree. It's.
I feel like there's some funny business going on here.
A few moments later.
Watch this. I'm gonna turn it around on them.
Yeah.
Duke minus 5.5. That's where I'm at.
You just turned it around on them.
I just flipped it over.
Well done.
Just flipped it over.
Yeah.
They said.
That's what they want you to do. They want you to turn it around on them. So
don't
now,
tell me, buddy. I know.
doing exactly what they want.
No. You did exactly what they want.
Yeah, that's what they want you to think, is that you think
You're a
that I do what
sheep.
they want, but you do
You're a
what you want.
sheep. You're a sheep. You do exactly what they want. Who's the independent thinker now?
Larson tipped it. Love has it. Lewis slams it, and Arizona wins it.
I was wrong. Scary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball Podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black, and often, even more than sometimes, pick games totally incorrectly with logic that doesn't hold up so well.
Speak for yourself.
Speaking for myself. This episode of the Eye on College Basketball Podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. I think make every moment more. Matt Norlander is here with you. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button like you're Brandon Davies. You have consent, and don't forget to also subscribe to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel while you're here. All right, let's get into it. Needless to say, the biggest result from the weekend, that was Arizona's 78-73 win at Duke. I thought they were begging us to take Arizona plus 5.5.
Yeah.
I tried to identify funny business and then take advantage of it. Didn't work out so well. Norlander talked to you about Arizona's win over Duke on the Eye on College Basketball Podcast not long after the final buzzer sounded late Friday. If you missed that, go find it, because we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that again today. Norlander already said most of what he wants to say, and I don't have much to say beyond what he's already said and beyond what I said on television, CBS Sports Network, late Friday, which is that it was obviously a great win for Arizona. And mostly, I do think this is true, an inconsequential loss for Duke. It's a missed opportunity, sure. Like, it's a big win that you didn't get, but a loss to a possible Pac-12 champ in the opening weekend of the season isn't going to hurt you long-term if you're Duke. Either way, just a great event for the sport, because two relatively young head coaches in charge of two of the biggest brands in college basketball decided that they were willing to test their teams in the opening week of the season in a true home road environment, in the spirit of giving all of us an early season game worth watching. More coaches should do it. It was fun, and though Arizona won, it could have gone either way, evidence being that the score was literally tied with 47 seconds left. In the final minute, Arizona made more plays than Duke, so Arizona got a huge win. Duke is now 1-1 heading into the Champions Classic. We're going to get more on that later. If you care, I did reward Arizona by moving up the Wildcats to number 3 in the top 25 and 1. Duke is down to number 4. Simply put, I didn't really want to punish anybody for being brave enough to schedule a big game this early. So rather than move Duke down into Arizona's neighborhood, I just moved Arizona up into Duke's neighborhood. That means Kansas is now number 1, Purdue number 2, Arizona number 3, Duke number 4 in the top 25 and 1. And if you don't like it, you can send me a tweet about it, and I'll just ignore. Deadleg, any additional thoughts on Arizona's win at Duke?
Well, first of all, I cannot take your ranking seriously after hearing that.
I don't know how anybody could take this list seriously. Here's the problem. Now that I said that on Friday's podcast, every time I tweet, somebody says, I can't take this list seriously. So now, even more than normally, I'm getting trashed in my mentions by people who are just playing along.
That is the beauty of it all. Absolutely love it. Love how, just like the stop sign in your neighborhood, you kind of blew through the stop sign right at the top of the show. Shouts to Nada. GP and I did not know that was coming. Well produced. If you're watching on YouTube, you got to see it first. It plays even better if you're watching as opposed to just listening there. One more time for the ones in the back. I was wrong. How about that? So
final 4 and 1. I believe I went 2 and 3, and you went 3 and 2.
How dare you? I went 4 and 1. The only game I got wrong was Tennessee not covering, or Wisconsin not covering against Tennessee. Go ahead and check it again. Yeah, there was 3 and 2 in the Google Doc. I was like, this ain't right. I double checked.
So does that mean I went
You went 2-3. Yeah, that's correct. You went 2-3.
Well, it's better. It's better than what I usually go.
Here's the thing with GP. He's having a rough go of it. The Duke thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the sheep now?
It feels like it could be me.
There's no could be about it.
Feels like it's me.
I'm not going to ask. Listen, if the roles were reversed, you'd probably demand a sheep noise in the first 60 seconds of the pod. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let it cook this week, see where we are on Friday's show. But if this happens again, your sheep noise is getting added to the board.
I tried thinking for myself one time. You see what happened? I'll never think for myself again.
Rumors in the chat, by the way, that I already have an insurmountable lead in the Final Four run.
I mean, probably. I'll never be at 500 again.
So we'll see about that. Two, I know you're having a rough weekend with that. And then we both had birthday party situations on Sunday. So we're coming into this pod. Listen, no shame in this game. I had a wonderful time with my boys and their friends, but my dumb ass decided to go to IKEA on Saturday, buy my son a new dresser because he didn't need one. So
every kid wants a new dresser for his birthday.
Trust me.
Hey, what do you want for your birthday? Dad, I've been dreaming about a new dresser.
This is the bonus. Okay. He's got plenty of good stuff that has arrived by now and later this week, but he did need a new dresser. So I spent my Saturday.
Oh, hey, by the way, you guys put your kids' clothes in where they're supposed to go?
That we aim for that to be the goal in our
That's interesting.
60% of the time.
That's interesting. You should
Yeah.
I should maybe get our wives on a Zoom call, let them talk about how they plan to handle children's clothing.
That's a whole other thing. So
my wife owns a children's clothing store. Everything in that place, immaculate. Walk into the kid's bedroom, shit everywhere.
Okay.
Always.
No, it's a Sunday show. So what do you want from us right now? So Sunday birthday situation. We're coming into this organized, but a tad scrambled at the same time. Am I wrong?
Buddy, there was a cobra in my front yard an hour ago. King. Not just a normal cobra. King cobra.
Okay. As usual, GP just trying to one-up me. It was years ago when
What did you do for your kid's birthday?
We went to a bounce house Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme party. It was a great time.
That sounds great.
It was a tremendous time. Actually, it went off without a hitch. But that being said, they're just running around for 2 straight hours, and I'm just making sure no one dislocates an elbow or scratches up a face and stuff like that. So
I'm sorry, we had snakes at our house.
Again, like I had the dead deer, I had the dead mice in the house. Now you got the king. You got a king cobra.
That's what they said. I mean, I wasn't in any position to argue with them. It was the Magnolia State wildlife. I don't know. My wife found them somewhere. I don't even know where you find these people. They literally just show up at your house with a truck full of snakes. It's outrageous.
Oh, I'm thinking this is in the wild, and we got another $8,000 removal situation.
Oh, no. We paid somebody to bring a bunch of snakes to our house.
What the hell are you doing? What?
Kids like looking at stuff.
Voluntarily bringing snakes.
Yeah, no, not even voluntarily. It's a good $400.
Yeah, you opted in though. That's the point.
Oh yeah, we paid hundreds of dollars to have snakes at our house.
I have to presume these things aren't venomous.
No, they are.
Okay.
Okay. My wife made.
I don't even know how you would go about removing the venom.
Okay, the guy was bragging to my wife. Let the record show I was not involved in any of this. The guy was like, "Yes, ma'am, I have 4 venomous snakes," and she was like, "Well, we don't need those. We don't need you to bring those. Bring the ones that can't poison anybody. Bring the ones that can't. Even if something goes, we know nothing would ever go wrong. But just in case something does go wrong, we don't need any kids dying of poisoning at our house. That's got to be against some law. I mean, we're pretty loose with the laws down here in Mississippi, but that's got to be against something. But everybody left here safe. Even the snakes, things went well. But buddy, that's a long Sunday. It's a long Sunday.
That's long. By the way, that dresser that I purchased and began putting together, it's not done.
Nothing's
no chance. No. I was in it for a good 3 hours. Still not done.
No. That'll
be for tomorrow. Quick thoughts on Duke, Arizona. Just to put a bow on it. Yes, had a Friday quickie episode. If you didn't listen, go back and check that out. As I said on the show, when these circumstances warrant it, we are going to try this season. Sometimes it will be Parrish. Sometimes it'll be me. But it'll be just one of us, because the goal is if there's something that warrants it and we don't have a podcast the next morning, or if it's kind of on an island, a result that we think that you would find interesting, and oh, by the way, everyone listening or viewing or whatever, you found interest in it. So clearly there's an appetite there. One of us will hop on and do 10, 12, 14, 15 minutes max. And that's the goal there. And, you know, kind of fulfill the podcast needs until our regularly scheduled programming again. So much was covered on that. Just two things. One, I mentioned on that I picked in my stream of consciousness, because I just went live like off the top of the dome, no notes, that I picked USC to win the Pac-12, and then Arizona fans came for me and came mocking me. I actually picked Arizona to win the league. I want to be clear on this. I had both of them in the top 10, and I did pick Arizona, so let's correct the record there. Arizona fans, please forgive me. And then number 2 was Caleb Love with Coach K courtside, oh, by the way. Caleb Love, this is from Arizona's official recap of the game. Quote, when it was over, Arizona's players celebrated near midcourt with Love waving goodbye to the irate crazies and offering some testy words as big man Umar Ballo extended his arms to blow them kisses. Caleb Love having now played a role in a significant role in the final game of Coach K's career, the final home loss of his career, and now the first home loss of John Shire's career. To me, it puts him potentially in the top 5 most all-time hated Tar Heels and Tar Heel affiliated players ever. I just thought that he wasn't the most key player in the game, but that was a side plot that I didn't get to that I just I found to be perfect for giving us another storyline in the opening week.
Okay, listen, it is 100% true that Caleb Love played a role in Arizona winning this game. He had big plays in the final minute, the little bounce pass drop off.
4 for 4 from the line. Like he was a factor. Yeah.
He was a factor. Okay. So Caleb Love helped lead a team to another win over Duke. That's hilarious. That he did it while being Caleb Love is also perfect. 3 of 10 from the field. I love it. It was a perfect Caleb Love night. Shot 30% from the field, but somehow impacted winning still. Good for him.
And you know what? And all I mean this in all sincerity. You know, I don't care who wins or loses. It's an intriguing result. But the fact that the game ends and Caleb's Love's like, oh yeah, no, I'm giving it to this fan base right here, right there, yet again. Kudos to you. Great game. Enjoyed it tremendously. It exceeded the hype.
All right. So you and I agree that, nobody had a better weekend than Arizona. I mean, you go to Duke, you beat a preseason top 5 team on the road. Nobody's topping that. As I said on CBS Sports Network, I guess I doubt this will be true because somebody will beat Kansas at Kansas. Somebody will beat Purdue at Purdue, I guess. But we could look up on Selection Sunday and go, that win Arizona got on that Friday, the first week of the season, is the biggest win of the season, or one of the biggest wins of the season. So nobody had a better weekend than that. Here's my question for you. Mm-hmm. Give me 3 teams that also had good weekends. We're taking Arizona. We're crowning them. We're putting them over here. Give me 3 teams you think also had great weekends, and then I'll give you 3 of mine.
All right, I'll give you 3 of mine. And we, for those watching right now live, you get to vote in the poll question. I know 4 of these teams that we're going to talk about are in the poll, including 2 of mine. So I think it's 2 of mine and 2 of GP. So 2 of mine are Tennessee and A&M that are in the poll question. Tennessee goes on the road, wins 80-70 at Wisconsin. It's a road win against a potential NCAA tournament team. Dalton Knecht, he was lauded when Tennessee got him, but you have to really be you have to be into college basketball and really into the transfer portal. For even the invested college basketball fan, Dalton Knecht, who I ask you right now, if you're watching or listening, a trivia time at home, no cheating. Pause it for 20 seconds after I ask this and see if you can actually get it even after the season starts. Dalton Knecht transferred from. The answer, of course, is Northern Colorado. Of course. But I bring him up to say he had 24 points. It doesn't seem like it's outside the realm of possibility he's going to have a chance to be a top 5 transfer of impact if he's really going to give Tennessee this kind of dynamism on offense. And we'll see. You go on the road, you drop 80, and you're Tennessee, and it's at Wisconsin with the way that Bucky likes to play. I thought that was big. Santiago Vescovi only had 5 points in this game, GP, but Tennessee shot 59% inside the 3-point line. Tennessee, a clear winner. Texas A&M, similar road win, Big 6 power conference team, 73-66. It was a 3-man attack. I mean, Wade Taylor, Tyrese Radford, and Henry Coleman, contributed 62 of A&M's 73 points. Taylor was big, and this game was happening right alongside Arizona and Duke. So I had that game on the iPad where I had Duke on the multi-view and was keeping up. So I was not as dialed into this. But Taylor undeniably, who, I voted as a preseason first team All-American, second team All-American. He was big down the stretch, and he helped carry them. He had 21 points, 4 assists. Radford also had 21 points. Henry Coleman, the forward, to me, he's the one that might give A&M credence as the SEC contender. I mean, 20 points, 11 rebounds, and only 1 foul in 36 minutes on the floor. A&M navigated to that win despite 3 of 18 three-point shooting. Again, road Ohio State, we'll see. It's a positive development. A&M's next test at SMU on Tuesday night. And as for Ohio State, just a quick note, Bruce Thornton, he had 24 points. He's going to be a big breakout sophomore, but he might need to average more than 17 points a night to give Ohio State a viable chance at keeping pace in the middle of the pack in the Big Ten. And the other one I'm going to say is Clemson. They won the Asheville Championship. They went 2-0. They're 3-0 overall. They beat Davidson on Sunday, 68-65, after starting the game down 19-2 after Davidson beat Maryland. We will get to Maryland in a little bit on the pod. Davidson had 3 shots to tie the game to send it to OT with a triple, missed all 3. Clemson beat UAB and Davidson in 48 hours by a combined 4 points, but whatever. Brad Brownell on the hot seat entering the season yet again. He's 3-0, off to a good start. PJ Hall, Joe Girard, big transfer from Hughes. Chase Hunter returns, and then RJ Godfrey was good off the bench. So for me, 3 big winners: A&M, Vols, Clemson.
Just real quick on Dalton Connect, Northern Colorado transfer, 6'6", averaged 20.2 points and shot 38.1% from 3 last season on 6.3 attempts per game from beyond the arc. So he is an accomplished shooter. My point is he's averaging 20.5 points per game right now at Tennessee, and shooting 54% from the field and like 30% from 3. He's not even shooting the ball well right now from beyond the arc, and still, I mean, he looks like he's Tennessee's best offensive player. We know Tennessee's physical. We know Tennessee can guard. Their issues last season, we talked about it from November to March, were that they just hit these games where they couldn't score enough to win. Like, what if Dalton Connect is and you never know, like, he's really not doing anything that he hasn't already done in college. It's just, you never know how it's going to translate from Northern Colorado to the SEC.
Yeah.
But he looks the part. Like, right now, we're talking on March 1st. Dalton Connect, Tennessee's best player, looks.
It's on the table. How about that? And then and to me, and listen, you play Northern Colorado, fine. This isn't a jump up. This is a 2-level jump, and for him to be that impactful right away, and there was good preseason buzz. This is not out of nowhere, but he might actually wind up being the guy where it's like, well, damn, if Tennessee's going to have an offense with someone like this, then maybe things have changed. Again, we're early, but at least want to give him credit and give him some props for how he performed. That's a really nice win for the Vols.
He's one of the ones where, like, Alabama adds Grant Nelson. People get excited about that even before it happens. Gonzaga adds Steel Venters. People get excited about that like when it happens. This one was more of, okay, he scored a lot at the mid-major level. We'll see. But to your point, once he got on campus and you start talking to people around that program or who had been around that program, his name kept coming up. He was one where the hype built in the preseason after people were able to see him practicing with other Tennessee players, and he's been, again, terrific through the first week of the season. He looks like he could be the missing piece to maybe, I'm not predicting it, but maybe Tennessee being the type of team that can, go to a Final Four for the first time in school history. I got 3 teams. I'll do them in alphabetical order as well that had good weekends in addition to Arizona. And I'll start with BYU. I mean, this is a team that, you're not going to believe this, I picked San Diego State on Friday in the Final Four and won. BYU was picked 13th in the Big 12. 13th. They're now 2-0 with a win over San Diego State and up to 29th at KenPom. Now these two things aren't going to hold. You can't be top 30 at KenPom and then finish 13th in the Big 12. And you're not going to finish 13th in the Big 12 and be top 30 at KenPom. So they're not going to be both these things. But they are both these things right now. The team picked to finish 13th and top 30 at KenPom. Think about the Big 12. You're already the best league in the country in the computers, and now you've added Houston, which is second at KenPom, and BYU, which is 29th at KenPom. Dallin Hall, 6'4" sophomore, he got 18 points against San Diego State. He's come off the bench guy, averaged 7.2 last season. He's up to 12 points per game through 2 games this season. BYU, like, they could be the type of team that you look up on January 1 and they're ranked because they've got a record and a big win over San Diego State, and you look up on February 17th, and they are actually 13th in the Big 12 because somebody's going to have to finish down there, but off to a good start and worth keeping an eye on because where they were picked in the league by humans, does not line up at all with where they are in computers right now. I only bring this next team, because we had them on CBS Sports Network. So sometimes that's one of the benefits of being in studio. You are forced to pay attention to things that otherwise might be a little off your radar. So, we've got a double header on Friday night, and it's Duquesne Charleston. And Duquesne beats them 90-72. Now, this is a Charleston program that won 31 games last season and is picked to win the CAA, although it's a different CAA.
It is. Trivia time, another trivia time at home. Pause it after I ask the question. What is the new name for the CAA? Give yourself 15 seconds. See if you can get it, then unpause and continue the show.
It was the Colonial Athletic Association, and it is now the Coca-Cola Athletic Association.
It's not.
Yes, it is. I think it is.
It's not. Although, Lord knows, Coca-Cola has enough if it really wants to go after it. If it wants to get the realignment of business and sponsoring. I believe it's the Coastal.
Yeah, I think it's Coca-Cola. We're going to have to double check.
Right, well, either way,
I would check it. I just think we should probably check that.
Okay.
I heard it was the Coca-Cola Athletic Association. So Charleston is picked to win the Coca-Cola Athletic Association, and Duquesne just beat them by 18. Trivia time.
Oh, boy.
When's the last time Duquesne was in the NCAA tournament?
That's a good one. There's a chance I might have. I don't know if I had this in my capsule or not, because I'll say. It's been a hot minute, GP. I'm going to blindly say 97.
You better blindly go back further.
It is 92.
You better blindly go further.
Are we into the 80s?
You better blindly go further.
No shot. The 70s?
1977. 2 months after baby GP arrived, Duquesne was in the NCAA tournament, and they got in that year by winning their league tournament. They sucked that year too. They just got in. They pulled a Dennis Felton at Georgia.
I thought you were going to give me.
I wish. It was 77.
Wow.
2 months after baby GP arrived, Duquesne was in the NCAA tournament. Do you realize I was 2 months premature too, Norlander? I shouldn't even been alive when Duquesne was in the NCAA tournament, but I came 2 months early.
Keep claiming that's your birth year, but I might need to see a birth certificate, because I always thought you were 65, baby.
77. They said, the doctors told my mom, hey, he's only 3 pounds. He dropped down to 2. He's in an incubator. He might be slow to develop, so you'll need to be patient with him.
How's that working out for you?
Look at me. Look, do I look slow to develop? He might grow up to do peacock noises someday. The doctor set my mother down. They said he might grow up to do peacock noises someday, but don't be alarmed. He's 2 months premature.
I'm a sun devil.
Yeah, exactly.
He might think he's a sun devil. My whole life, I thought, you know what? I came out of this okay. And then you have to look yourself in the mirror and be like, I am a 46-year-old man doing Sun Devil impersonations. Am I really all right?
You tried to turn it around on everyone with Duke and Arizona, and how'd that work out for you?
Just not many things are going my way these days.
And you want to know, you would have been 1-4. I'm almost positive this is the case. You would have been 1-4 if not for you're supposed to pick against me in game 3, and I think we picked the same, and it was Miami, and it covered, so it saved you. I think you actually.
Well, how am I 2-3 and you're 4-1? That doesn't make sense.
Because we picked 4 different games. Let me bring it up right now.
I know, but how could you be 4-1?
I'm bringing it up right now. If I will. All right. It was Arizona at Duke. The line was Duke -5.5. I picked Arizona cover 1-0. A&M at Ohio State. A&M was favored or a 1.5 point dog. I picked A&M. It won the game outright 2-0. Miami was a 9.5 point favorite at home. I picked the Canes. They covered 3-0. Tennessee was a 2.5 point road favorite. I took the Badgers at home. They were a dog. They didn't cover. I'm 3-1. And then BYU was a 1.5 point favorite at home against San Diego State. You took your Aztecs. I took BYU. The final score of that with a 1.5 point spread was 74-65. 4-1. Give it to me.
Okay, I went 2-3. I went 2-3. Nothing's going my way. But hey, maybe I'll be the Duquesne of the Ion College Basketball Podcast. Maybe this is when I turn things around. Duquesne is up to 77th at KenPom. That's second in the A10. just a few spots below Dayton. Dayton, as you know, going to be shorthanded the rest of the year. No Malachi Smith.
Yeah.
Duquesne hasn't been to the tournament since 77, hasn't won a league title since 81. Keith Dambrot might be on his way to taking Duquesne to a place it hasn't been since I was a baby boy.
And yet that still might not be the pinnacle of Keith Dambrot's career for the young ones out there. The Duquesne head coach, who has been a D1 head coach 15 plus years now,
used to coach Victor Wembanyama.
The actual answer is LeBron James, once upon a win. So
I think it was Wemby.
There you go.
I think it was.
Who's your third winner?
My Memphis Tigers.
I mean,
they went to Missouri. 70-55 true road game with Rick Stansberry on the sideline. Penny Hardaway still serving a 3-game suspension.
That's true.
Memphis got down double digits, stormed back. Javon Quinterly was terrific. And I just, you got to lead the top 25 and 1 with something on Saturday morning. And I didn't want to write about Arizona Duke because we had that covered. I try sometimes to just find something other to write something else to write about other than what I know is already being written about. So I said, okay, this will be an opportunity to write about Memphis, because 4 years ago, in year 2 of Penny Hardaway's college coaching career, he started 5 freshmen. And as far as I know, and anybody can feel free to fact check me on this, but nobody has ever been able to find another example, and I haven't either. When he started 5 freshmen, first game of his second season, the first time major coach in the history of college basketball to ever start 5 freshmen. People don't remember this. Even the Fab Five weren't the Fab Five until like either middle of January or February. They didn't start starting 5 freshmen until after the new year. Penny Hardaway did it in game 1 of year 2, and I believe became the first head coach to start 5 freshmen in the opening game of a season in the history of college basketball at the high major level. On Friday at Missouri, the average age of his top 5 scorers were 22.8. Javon Quinterly is 24, turns 25 later this month. Jordan Brown and Caleb Mills are both 23. Jordan Brown turns 24 this month. Jaquan Walton and David Jones are both 22. Memphis has 2 former McDonald's All-Americans that will be 24 and 25 years old on Selection Sunday. Has any team ever had multiple McDonald's All-Americans who are both 24 or older?
You've got 4 months to
I'm just saying, McDonald's All-Americans are never in school till they're 22.
I can't imagine. Well, once upon a time, players did a long time. I just don't think at that age it's ever happened before. But hey, I'd love to know.
2 McDonald's All-Americans, both 24 or older.
Seems exceedingly unlikely.
That will be where they are on Selection Sunday. They will have 2 McDonald's All-Americans, both 24 or older. So, now Memphis is 2-0. I moved the Tigers up to 21 in the top 25 and 1. Alabama State on Friday. Then it's the battle for Atlantis. They start with Michigan there. Then they play either Arkansas or Stanford. And then on the other side of the bracket, it's Carolina, Villanova, Texas Tech, Northern Iowa. Probably you're hoping to go 2-1 there. Like, you feel great if you come out of that 2-1. Arkansas's there, Carolina's there. If you can come out of that 2-1, you feel good, I think. They got additional non-league games with Ole Miss, VCU, Texas A&M, Clemson, Virginia, Vanderbilt. But off to a good start. They looked the part. I don't know how much of it you saw, but they just look big and old and physical. And, like, it's just contrasting. And a lot of times, and Penny gets bothered by this. I should say this. Penny doesn't like people always talking about DeAndre Williams is 27 years old, when they did. He doesn't like people. He feels like it's mocking his players. I don't think it's mocking them as much as just like stating a fact. Somebody's 6'2", somebody's 7'1", somebody's a junior, somebody's a freshman, somebody's 19, somebody's 25, whatever. I actually think you should applaud, if you're a Memphis fan, what Penny Hardaway has done. Too many coaches have not recognized that the game has changed dramatically. And yet here's a guy who went from trying to recruit the best high school players he could get and start them all at the same time to now. I don't want to say he doesn't want high school players. He did sign a 4-star prospect, just ain't on campus because he's facing 9 felony gun charges. I'm not saying he doesn't want high school players anymore. I'm just saying to go from in year 2 starting 5 freshmen to 4 years later going to Missouri and winning with 5 guys being your leading scorers who are all 22 or older It just shows the difference in approach and philosophy. And to bottom line this, I think this way is going to work better than the last way. I think this team's good.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to be on about that. You covered Memphis real quick on Missouri. Just an odd one. I did watch most of the game. I mean, this was just no doubt about it. Win for Memphis and no doubt about it. Loss for Mizzou. Tigers walked in and they straight up kicked butt, dude. Maybe it's going to take Gates a little bit of time here to determine roles and rotation. Dude, Missouri scored 0.79 points per possession. That is putrid. And the anemia was aided by the fact they only had 5 offensive boards. So we'll see on the Tigers. I think Dennis Gates is a really good coach, and I expected them to very much be in the conversation to return to the NCAA tournament in year 2 for him after they got there with ease in year 1. We'll see. And then just to put a bow on it with BYU, Cougars had 3 guys off the bench in double digits scoring, which was big. And then Fusene Traore, he continues to be just really one of like the more, and part of this was BYU wasn't great last season, but he does just so many things. He's a really, really fun player to watch for BYU. On certain nights, he's certainly the best player. And other nights, he can play like this glue guy plus kind of role. Really, really awesome. And BYU just, had the home court advantage. It was no doubt about it. That's why it took him to win and cover. That's why I took him. But GP, he let his emotions and his personal philosophies about premarital and of course get in the way, and it'll get you sometimes.
Buddy,
I separated it, and I thought, you know what, BYU, that home floor, early season, all that pent up, just what I'm talking about in the building.
Yeah,
it would benefit BYU, and then
buddy,
hold it did.
Oh, buddy, you get caught up in it on a Friday sometimes.
Me too.
It's like, man, I love the Aztecs. Always have. They love me. Love premarital sex. Always have. Here's a chance to pick the Aztecs and support premarital sex all at the same time. It's like when you're at the Walgreens and they're like, would you like to donate $1 to St. Jude? It's like, sure, well, of course. How could I turn that down? Sure, yeah, make it 5. Same thing here. Would you, this is what I felt like. I felt like I was at Walgreens and somebody said, would you like to support the Aztecs and premarital sex? I was like, yes, of course. See where that got me.
Blew up in your face.
Ooh.
No. All right. Time for the break. Let's go.
Hey. That seems like a perfect time to get a word from our partners.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Hey, Deadleg. We've discussed Arizona, Duke, Memphis, Missouri, BYU, San Diego State, Duquesne, Charleston, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Clemson, UAB. Clemson's weekend in general. What else do we need to know from the weekend?
All right. We can be quick on this whip around. The biggest loser is Maryland. Goes 0-2 in Asheville. 2 losses in 2 days to Davidson and UAB. Credit to UAB. Was able to get a win. Eric Gaines had 20 points. Did well. Blazers had a 16-1 run at one point. Took a big lead on him. Maryland was terrible from 3-point range. Next up is ranked Villanova on Friday for the Terps in the Gavitt games. This is the first 1-2 start for Maryland in a decade. Hasn't been 1-3 since 2000-2001. Ironically enough, they made the Final Four that season and got a 3 seed after finishing 3rd in the ACC. Maryland was a preseason top 25 team. We talked on our show a week ago where we tried to identify the maybe 4 or 5 or 6 preseason ranked teams that would be vulnerable to maybe not making the NCAA tournament. None of us mentioned Maryland. Not saying it'll happen, but it's in the worst spot. Obviously, is not ranked in GP's top 25 and 1. That was the worst weekend, but there were also 5 bad losses of varying degrees for Big 6 conference teams, all at home. DePaul lost by 4 to Long Beach State, which is 122nd at KenPom. Notre Dame lost by 10 to Western Carolina, which is 147th. Oh, by the way, some of these teams aren't ranked well to begin with. Notre Dame at KenPom right now is 201. Okay. Louisville loses by Louisville right now, 175, doing better than I thought it was doing, but still lost at home by 10 to Chattanooga, which is now 172. LSU, the highest ranked of the group, 64 at KenPom. It lost at home After rallying, Nicholls State got him. Nicholls State is 275 at Ken Palm. And then the fifth one is Georgetown. Georgetown right now sits at 177 at Ken Palm. It had the worst loss per ranking. Holy crap. and beats Georgetown. Holy Cross is 309 at Ken Palm right now. So those were the 5 teams from power conferences that took tough losses. Frischilla tweeted in the midst of the DePaul game, he said that Tony Stubblefield used all 5 of his timeouts in the first 14 or so minutes. He said he could never remember that happening. One coach used, and neither can I, using all 5 in the first 14 minutes.
See, this is the thing where I don't. If I were the coach at DePaul, I would never use a timeout because I would just be trying to get the game over as quickly as possible. I wouldn't call any timeout.
This is why I love college basketball. Different styles make for different fights, and I hear you all in that. So how about this? DePaul, Notre Dame, Louisville, LSU, Georgetown. They all lose at home to mid-major opponents in bye games. Which of those 5 teams do you think is going to finish with the most wins at the end of the season? We can include any type of postseason, and this would probably be just league postseason play. Who are you picking to win the most games, and what's that number going to be, JP?
Well, it's not going to be Louisville. That thing.
That's already. It was noisy already, and it's bad. Keep talking. I'm going to bring up this Card Chronicle tweet. Mike Rutherford does a great job. He had a tweet. Go ahead. I'm going to read it. I'll read it in a second.
Like somebody in the chat even said, like, Kenny Payne has to resign. I don't know. He has to resign, but like, we're going to get there pretty soon. They are in, like, I'm not trying to pile on, but like, they are embarrassingly bad for any power conference school, but especially Louisville. As a man who was raised on the Metro Conference, it is unimaginable that Louisville could be this bad at basketball. And as I wrote in the hot seat column a couple of weeks ago, it seems pretty clear to me that at the latest, right after this season is over, they will make a coaching change, and they will wish they did after year 1 what they should have, what they actually did after year 2. They're going to wish they pulled the plug on this after 1 year. And you know what? Deep down, I guarantee you they know they should have. They just, and this is the thing, I got into conversations with people as February and March approached last year. Every conversation about Louisville went like this. So what do you think about the situation at Louisville? Oh, it's bad. So they're going to do something? Nah. Why not? Well, you can't fire him after 1 year. Well, if he has another bad year, will you do it? Well, yeah, of course. Is there any reason to think the next year won't be bad? Well, then if you're going to do it a year from now, and you are, what are you waiting on? Well, you just can't do it after a year. Okay. Well, here you go. Enjoy an empty Yum Center all season, as opposed to you could have been getting on with it because you knew this was not. It's one thing to have like Ed Cooley. Whatever happens to Ed Cooley at Georgetown this year will never make me change this opinion. He'll get it figured out eventually. Give him. It might take 2 years. It might take 4. Ed Cooley will win at Georgetown. I don't care. He could win 0 games this year. I will say that at the end of the year because I believe in Ed Cooley. I've seen what he's capable of. Kenny Payne is a first-time head coach who has run a historically strong program straight into the ground to an unimaginable place. And there's just no scenario where he's going to pull out of this. How about this? There's literally nothing that's ever happened since he became the head coach at Louisville that should make anybody think he's going to be a successful head coach at Louisville.
And here's how bad it gets. Like you lose at home, and it's a no doubt about it kind of loss. You've got people sharing, like Peyton Siva sharing a photo of like a packed Yum Center saying, this is what I was playing in front of, no matter who the opponent was. This is Louisville basketball.
He's right.
And he's right. And then Mike Rutherford, who has for a long time done a great job covering Louisville and cardchronicle.com. He does radio there. He tweeted, this is such an embarrassing waste of time, like in the midst of the game. And he's not wrong about that. I would like to see Louisville please turn this around. I just have no desire whatsoever to continue to see Louisville flame out like this. We'll see. It was obviously a notable loss. My pick is going to be LSU. I'll say of DePaul, Notre Dame, Louisville, LSU, Georgetown. I had LSU ranked highest of these 5 going into the season. I'll say it's LSU. The Nicholls State loss was bad. I'll say LSU, and I'll say it's Matt McMahon is a good coach and did a really good job for a long time at Murray State, but you just never know. But I'll say LSU gets out of this season. I'll say that give me 15 wins. Like that still seems reasonable. That's my pick. What about you?
All right, yeah, the only sensible answer is LSU, just based on nothing more than like they should be far and away better in the win-loss column than the other teams we're grouping them with right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they should be.
It should be. DePaul's off to a bad start. I mean, it's lost a couple of games already. We'll wait and see on that. A couple more, and then we'll wrap up and head to the look ahead here. Virginia beat Florida, which was a nice win, but Tony Bennett lost his mind. I don't want to say he lost his mind. He was ticked in a way you rarely see Tony Bennett ticked off. It was 71-69 Florida, and I'm curious if you were following this. Let me ask you, and then I'll read that sequence. Were you following this in real time in the studio, GP? Like, were you aware of what was happening as this was going down? Because this was a very busy, 10-minute window as Arizona Duke was wrapping on Friday night. So I don't even know if you caught this or not.
We have 12 TVs in front of us. Everything's on. You are also preparing to do a 30-minute show and doing a 30-minute show. We can lie. I mean, you can see enough to do highlights and discuss games for 20 seconds, 30 seconds at a time. But are we actually there watching the way it's hard because you've got a million things going on. But I do know what you're referencing. And to your point about Tony losing his mind in a way that you rarely see, trivia time.
Okay.
How many technical fouls has Tony Bennett gotten since he became the head coach at Virginia?
So did this prompt the crack research team at Network to look this up after he got one?
No, I was Googling about this and it popped up somewhere.
He's definitely, I'm going to say, since he got the Virginia job or period?
The way it was described is he has now been the head coach at Virginia. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is year 15. How many technical fouls has Tony Bennett received as the head coach at Virginia?
I'll say 3.
1.
Wow.
He doesn't lose his mind.
Yeah, he did, and he didn't, unless I'm mistaken.
And so for people who didn't see what happened, you tell them.
Okay, I will. And by the way, Nada, real quick, turn on your mic. Nada, were you in? I think Nada was in the building for this. Nada, you were there?
I was there for that. The entire building was very, very confused because it went one way and then they stopped the game and then go the other way. Like Tony Bennett had a legitimate reason to be upset.
All right, so it's Virginia's up by 2 with 55 seconds to go. They're playing Florida. The officials thought the ball went off of Florida, but then it turned out it went off of Blake Buchanan. But the wrinkle to this is that the play-by-play table had a view that showed Buchanan getting his hand on the ball. It winds up not mattering because Virginia wins the game. But the color guy on the call is Corey Alexander, who, for the young ones out there, was a really good 4-year player at the University of Virginia in the early 1990s. Dude was picked in the first round of the NBA draft. And so he's turning his monitor around, helping the officials. The call switches, and in the moment, Virginia's up 2 against Florida. And so then Tony, he steps out of the huddles. He takes 4 or 5 steps toward the table. He doesn't go across the court, but he's saying, that's on you. You can't do that. Do your job. Here's from Mike Barber's story on Richmond.com after the game, because I wanted to bring at least a little bit of clarity to this. He said, Alexander explained that the official Lee Castle, likely reacting to Alexander's on-air commentary, asked him if the officials had gotten the call right. So what's happening there, this is my words here, is the officials are hearing the television broadcast just because they're within earshot, and then suddenly they're like, well, maybe we have another look at this. Alexander, this is the story continuing. Alexander answered what he believed was truthfully that the call was wrong. Castle then asked him if ACC Network had an angle that showed the play. Clearly, Alexander told him that he did. At that point, Castle used the ACC Network monitor to review the play, which is not uncommon in college games, and overturn the call, awarding the ball to the Gators. An ACC spokesperson said officials are allowed to use courtside monitors to be able to see all angles of the play they are reviewing. Bennett admitted afterward that he lost his cool a little bit, and that Ryan Dunn, who, by the way, had 7 steals and is has a chance to become DeAndre Hunter-esque. I love that dude. He was the one that was telling Bennett to calm down, and Bennett said, usually you're telling the other guys. I wasn't even ready to move on. I needed a little more. Bennett was like, I still need a little more time.
He said that usually you're telling your players, hey, next play, that's over. Yeah. And my players had to tell me, coach, next play, it's over, because I was the one caught up in the moment.
Correct. And he's got some of his dad in him. His dad was like that a lot, and he would readily admit that. But Buchanan, by the way, big time player. He had 18 points. They won the game. It was just a different kind of scene. Like you don't normally see that period, and then to see it happen against Virginia, and then against a coach like Bennett. I at least wanted to highlight it because I don't know if we'll see something like that again the entire season.
No, I actually think this is something this is one of those things where the way the rules are written, it's like, and you don't even think about it. And then something like this happens and you go, okay, how could we avoid this? Because now I think, I don't know this, but if I were television producers, directors, officiating crews, like the rules are the rules. And like you said, they are allowed to go to the TV crew. I would now have new rules in play. I would want to talk to my people about this and figure out what are we going to do? What are we not? Because I think it would be wrong of Corey Alexander if the refs are if he can hear, okay, we're about to give this ball to Virginia, and he's looking at a replay and he sees it should be Florida, for Corey Alexander to go, hey, I got a view over here. You guys need to look at this. I think you're getting this wrong. I think you're wildly out of line. Like, it's none of your business. Stay out of it. You're there to call the game, not determine the game. My understanding of this, and check me if I'm wrong, is that they asked him, did we get it wrong? Do you have a view? At that point, he's just answering a question. So if you're a television network, do you want your announcers just, hey, if the refs ask you something like that, you just don't answer it? How do you handle that? Because we all agree what happened created an awkward situation, because it's not just the color analyst making the color analyst literally was the key to the officials overturning the call.
And he's trying to give and credit to Corey Alexander.
He's just trying to tell the truth.
It's just he so happens to have played at Virginia in a game where this is affecting Virginia.
But the fact that he is a Virginia alum made this even more awkward than it otherwise would have been. Yeah. So I think we should look at, as a sport, how do we avoid that? And I don't know if it's as simple as, because I don't like this, you can go to replay, but you can't look at all the replays. Like that falls apart logically for me. So I guess I'm of the opinion, if television has a replay you don't have, look at it. Let's look at, hey, that's what we're here to do. Look at it. Let's look at everything we got. I do think maybe if I were running a network, I would talk to my announcers now and I would say, if the officials come over and want to see our replay, we show it to them because they're allowed to look at it. But we are not going to talk to them. If they ask us, did we get it right? We don't answer that question. If they ask us, what did you see? We don't answer that question. If they ask us, do you have a clear shot? We don't have one. You don't answer that question. If they want to look at it, they can come look at it, but we're not talking to them about it because we don't want to be involved.
Yeah, well,
I think that's where I would be.
Maybe there's an interesting little area in between though, where often you'll have like the broadcasters need clarity on a call, and so officials will come over and the guys will take the headset off and they'll hear what the officials is telling them so that they can communicate to the audience, which you still need to do, which is a little bit different, but it is an interesting discussion. And you're not going to see this a ton, but it's obviously notable. Good on Virginia for getting the win. Only other note that I wanted to bring up was South Carolina beat Virginia Tech also in Charlotte 79-77. A nice building block victory for Lamont Paris. This was a Hall of Fame special kind of game. Nada was actually in the building for both of these. Nada, we had a poll question up. I'm curious where we're at here. Who had the best, other than Arizona, which team had the best opening weekend? What are the results?
Tennessee is barely beating everybody by 30 with a 37% gap. Everybody else kind of low, but 37%. Everyone poll says 37 right now.
All right, Tennessee. I think I'd lean with that, given the way that they played and how they won. It was a good week for the Vols and a good opening week across the board.
So before we get out of here, let's look ahead to the next two nights on the schedule. Before we do it, though, let's get a word from our partners.
Wake up to football highlights and news from around the world with the one and only Morning Footy team.
Rise and shine, football fans. Welcome to Morning Footy.
Start your all-day football craze with Morning Footy, part of the all-new Golazo Network.
So, fun two nights, relatively speaking, on tap. On Monday, we've got Michigan State at St. John's. First big game of Rick Pitino's career at St. John's. Xavier at Purdue. What interests you in those?
Well, I'm going to be at the Michigan St. John's game. I'm going to take the trip down to the Garden. Both these are Gavitt games. A lot of what we're about to talk about here is Gavitt games, which is going away. This is the last year of it, Big Ten versus Big East. My understanding is the Big Ten is largely responsible for this ending as the league tries to determine if it's going to stick at 20 league games or go to 21 or go to 22, which is a bummer because all I say is this. We've got some interesting stuff here to sidle up against the Champions Classic. If these are going away, just we better have some replacement level stuff here in the second week, because this has been a nice bonus in the past 5-6 seasons. It's just you get one or two intriguing ones, interconference battles. We'll wait and see on that. With Michigan at St. John's, there's no word yet if Juwan Howard's going to coach in this or not. I wouldn't be stunned if he actually decides to do it. He had heart surgery in the offseason. The goal was for him to be ready by the season opener. That hasn't happened yet. My understanding from a source is that there's no word, yes or no, as of us recording this podcast. But if there's
I was told he is targeting coming back this week, perhaps as soon as for this game.
No word isn't. How about this? The huge news tied to a Michigan head coach that everyone just can't wait to hear about what's coming next is obviously Juwan Howard. So you heard it here first. He might well make his debut on Monday night.
How many millions of dollars is Michigan paying people to not coach right now?
It's just unbelievable. I can't. We don't have. We want to try and make it sufficient.
Football coach suspended. Basketball coach is recovering.
I know.
Wild deal.
Yeah. Well, Texas A&M beats them like 6 times over altogether. How
about Jimbo Fisher?
Just unreal.
My man getting $80 million, not the coach. And how bad you got to feel if you Mississippi State? This dude went out yesterday, beat Mississippi State by like 80, and they were like, "Nah, that doesn't mean anything, though. You got to go."
Normally it's the reverse. You've
right.
got, oh man, that was the game. That was the loss. That was the one the straw that broke the camel's back. No, you look like
Jimbo was like
fired this dude.
Jimbo probably walked off the field yesterday like, all right, 30-point win. Let's go.
I got another week in me. No,
let's get this thing turned around.
What's wrong? Yeah,
they're like, no, buddy, you gotta go. You gotta go.
Back to the Garden. Gus Johnson, Bill Rafter are going to be on this call, so that's how you know it's big. This is the 6th time that they've met these two teams, Michigan and St. John's. Michigan is 1-4 all time. They've had a number of meetings at the Garden. They've met in, they met in 72 and they met in 65. Just kind of cool. Michigan, by the way, Michigan has won 10 straight games at MSG. 10 straight. We'll see if it can keep that going. Intrigued to see what St. John's has in store there. They last played, these two teams, December 3rd, 2000, the BB&T Classic in Washington, D.C. This is the first time St. John's, this is Rick Pitino effect, obviously. Red Storm hasn't played a game this early in the season against any opponent at the Garden specifically since 2003. That's what Rick Pitino will do for you. Xavier at Purdue is intriguing to me, only because I want to see what Xavier looks like. We would expect Purdue to win the game. How about this, though? Xavier has won his last 5 games against Purdue. It's the second longest active winning streak for one team over Purdue. Active. Trivia time. Who has the longest active winning streak over Purdue right now? Power conference team.
Is it my Indiana Hoosiers?
It's not. It's outside the Big Ten.
Oh.
But signals in the chat, Indiana might be in trouble, but we'll wait to the end of the show. We'll see if we can.
UMass Lowell, maybe?
Not UMass Lowell. The answer?
Is it Fairleigh Dickinson?
How about this?
Is it FDU?
It's not. It's the John Wooden connection. John Wooden.
UCLA.
UCLA has won.
Second best coach in UCLA history.
Second best coach in UCLA history has contributed to an 8-game active winning streak for UCLA over Purdue. That's the longest one.
Why would he do that? That seems disloyal.
I don't know. Purdue
that's what people always used to say about Coach Wooden is you couldn't trust him.
Purdue's won 26 straight regular season non-con games. That's the longest streak by a mile in the country right now. We'll see if it can keep it going.
You're not going to put Purdue on upset watch, are you?
I'm not. But by the way, Sean Miller, Matt Painter, combined with almost 900 total wins. So that's a really, really intriguing one in terms of what Xavier's going to look like.
Are they the 2 best coaches not to make a Final Four?
Well, Painter won the poll that we did for candidate coaches this season. Miller was like top 4 in that. So yeah, there's something to be said for that. So we'll keep an eye. Michigan, by the way, Olivier Kamwa, Will Cheddar, they've been really good. Michigan's been good to start. We'll see if they can step in and have a really. They've played well and exceeded expectations, even considering the opponent. What are your thoughts on Monday's matchups?
Well, looking forward to Michigan St. John's. Just looking forward to Rick Pitino and a big game in the Garden. Like that's awesome, right? Just that alone. Whatever happens after the ball's thrown up, whatever. But you get Rick Pitino walking in the Garden for a big game. That's going to be terrific. And then listen, Sean's great, but Purdue's a Final Four contender, a Big Ten favorite. At home, you're supposed to handle this. I don't want to say no problem, but if Purdue's in a game with under 4 to go, then something's gone wrong somewhere. They should have that wrapped up by then, but we'll see. On Tuesday, Champions Classic, Duke, Michigan State, Kansas, Kentucky. Those are the matchups. Duke and Michigan State both lost
I know.
last week as favorites. You ready for this? Late Tuesday. And this is one of those things where I'm going to say it and you'll go, well, of course. That's how this stuff works. But I think it's neat to hear it out loud. Late Tuesday, either Duke will be 1-2 after being ranked in the AP poll, number 2. Duke will be 1-2 after being ranked second in the AP poll late Tuesday, or Michigan State will be 1-2 after being ranked fourth in the AP poll late Tuesday. That's where we're at. One of these teams is going to bed Tuesday night, 1-2, unless the team that loses decides to stay up all night.
Duke loses to Michigan State, you go crazy and drop them all the way to number 6?
I might drop them down to 5.5.
Okay.
I just didn't want to punish anybody. I didn't want to punish Duke. If I had an option, I could move Duke down to Arizona's neighborhood or Arizona's up to Duke's neighborhood. It was a tie game with 47 seconds left. I had some guy in the mention say, you can't be the fourth best team in the country and lose at home. Well, yes, you can. That happens. And if you lose at home in a game that was tied with 47 seconds to go to the team that I'm now saying is the third best team, why can't you be the fourth best team? And here's the thing, either way, that everybody forgets about this, where they're talking about what you can't be and what you should be and what you can't be. You ready for this? You can be anything I say you are, because I'm in charge.
You just turned it around on him, didn't you?
I can do whatever I want.
You turned it around on him. All right.
People constantly asking me, how can Tennessee be 13th? Because I said so.
I just can't take that list seriously.
Because I said so. That's the answer to every one of your stupid questions.
Yeah,
I said so.
Yeah, how's that working out with your children and their clothes all over the place? Yeah.
They told my mom I might not develop properly. But now look at me. I'm telling anybody who tweets at me, the reason this thing is the way it is because I said so.
Let's hit both these games real quick. Duke, Michigan State first.
High stakes stuff.
You know what it is?
Would you argue that game's more important than the second game? Because
yes,
these two teams have both lost already.
They've both lost, and while you are correct about Duke losing at home to Arizona shouldn't be a ding, that's correct. But these things can compound, and so if a Michigan State loss comes, then it's
I think it's. You ready for this? The man who has the biggest night on tap Tuesday night, John Shire. Here's the deal.
Yes. Go ahead.
Tom Izzo can lose this game, and people will be like,
I know.
Man, I can't believe we're 1-2.
We're right.
But it's Tom Izzo. He's been to 25 straight NCAA tournaments, which is the third longest streak in the history of college basketball. Not for a coach, but by an entire school, and this guy's got it. All right? He's a Naismith Memorial Hall of Famer. People can be frustrated with Tom Izzo, but they will not question him. I mean, I'm sure on a message board somewhere, but like Tom Izzo, for the most part, is above. It's Tom Izzo. Relax. All right. Hey, I promise you can find plenty of times when Tom Izzo lost 2 games before November 15th and it worked out okay. If Shire loses, this will start to pile up.
In the short,
you got all these 5 stars back. You bring all these 5 stars in. You didn't do what you were supposed to do last year, and yeah, we've explained why. But now here you are. You're ranked second in the country, and now you're 1-2. What are we doing?
Yeah,
I won't agree with that. But that whole freak out, I'll think it's silly and premature. But it won't stop it from happening.
It will not. That is going if it does happen. We'll see if it does. Joe correctly points out in the chat that the rebounding was an issue. They got better as the game went along, but the rebounding an issue for Duke, particularly against Arizona, Michigan State. We'll see if they can come aggressively, and I think that's got a good chance at being a good game. That being said, will Duke have will they have some more consistency out of Tyrese Proctor, out of Jared McCain, Mark Mitchell? Actually, I thought all told, we didn't know he started coming off the ankle. I thought it was fine there, but some tweaking and a quick turnaround. We'll see on that. Michigan State again not shooting well at all. I think. What did I say? 2 for 31, something like that. Like it hasn't shot the 3 ball at all. Well, after being a good one last year, we'll see on that. Then you've got Kansas versus Kentucky. GP, I don't have the schedule in front of me. Is that the way we're talking about these? Is that how they're going to be played? Is it Duke, Michigan State first, and Kansas, Kentucky? Do you know?
I believe that is the order. Yes.
By the way, all these teams in Champions Classic, they're all within their all-time records. Kansas and Duke are 7-5. Kentucky, Michigan State are 5-7.
Duke, Michigan State. That's 7:00 Eastern inside the United Center in Chicago, and then that'll be followed roughly at 9:30 Eastern by Kansas, Kentucky.
And so with Kansas and Kentucky here, we get first of all the backdrop of Kansas getting 15 wins vacated. Kentucky took the lead on the all-time wins list from an official capacity. So UK is at 23-79 and Kansas is 7 behind at 23-72 because of the 15 that got knocked off. So you've got that going for you, Kentucky fans, which is nice. Kentucky leads the all-time series against KU 24-11. These teams have met 11 times in the past 13 seasons. It's awesome. It's great that one way or another, although we'd love to have it in Rupp and Fog Island every single time, we've had plenty of those in hostile environments. And then you obviously get the Champions Classic here. Kansas has wins over North Carolina, Central, and Manhattan. It's looked really good. Those teams both projected to be terrible this season. Now you get a real good look at Kentucky. All right, Hunter Dickinson, big stage, Chicago, United Center. What do you got? McCullers back. I'm intrigued to see Elmarco Jackson, the freshman, and what he's able to do playing alongside the likes of DeJuan Harris. Plenty of intrigue there, and just as much on the other side with Kentucky has wins against New Mexico State and Texas A&M Commerce. Both easy wins. Commerce was up early in that one, but Kentucky blew them away and pulled it out there. All right, what do we got from DJ Wagner? Justin Edwards, Rob Dillingham. You know, these freshmen, Reed Shepard, those are the young ones. You've got Antonio Reeves back in the mix. You've got Trey Mitchell that's going to be playing. And one more, just a thought bubble for you here. What's noisier? Michigan State 75, Duke 71, or Kansas 75, Kentucky 63? What's noisier? Would it be more on Cal, or would it still be more on Shire in that situation?
Yeah, so run me through them one more time.
Duke loses by 4 to Michigan State. Kentucky loses by 12 to Kansas.
They're both loud.
I know they're both. I feel like Duke is still louder in that situation.
I do too.
Kansas is preseason number 1.
If you're Kentucky, it's just like
they're not going to have any.
We lost to the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, but they're not here for it, and I don't blame them. They are not here at all for Kentucky showing up on Tuesday night at the Champions Classic on the biggest stage in the sport for the entire week. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying if it happens, like if it's 77-63 and Kansas rolls away with it, like it's immediate. We're not dealing with this again. I'm not saying it's a Jimbo Fisher situation, but they're way past that point.
They are both noisy, but I think this, like if you're Kentucky, like if Kentucky loses even by double digits against Kansas, Kentucky fans will be frustrated. Calipari, he's lost it, never get it back. You know, there'll be a lot of that going on. The rest of the country will make Kentucky jokes. Ha ha ha. It's always fun to watch Kentucky get blown out. Like that'll be a thing. But it'll sort of just be that. It's more problematic, I think, if you're John Shire, because what people will then say is, hey, Kentucky lost, sure, by double digits, okay, but it played the number 1 team in the country. They got all these freshmen. It's early. Mm-hmm. You know what Kentucky did? You know what Kentucky was supposed to do on Tuesday night? They're supposed to lose to Kansas. So they lost to Kansas. Duke's going to be favored in this game. And if Duke doesn't win it, Duke will then have 2 losses to 2 lower-ranked teams as favorites, and the season is 9 days old. That's a problem. It's not a big problem that can't be fixed, but it is a problem if you're trying to get fans to stop questioning you, because it is undeniable. John has done everything he could possibly do off the court to set himself up for success in terms of recruiting and organizing and all of that. But you gotta do the job on game day too. I think he can. I know you think he can. Like we both have Duke as legitimate Final Four contenders. And let me be clear. I don't care what happens I do care what happens Tuesday night, but regardless of what happens Tuesday night, it won't make me change any big opinions about Duke. But it won't stop people from saying, John Shire, bunch of great recruits again, but now he's 1 and 2 with 2, and he's been favored in all 3 games this season, but he's lost 2 of them. Like that, those will be the little things that people start saying. That will happen.
You're right, and that could prove to be wasted calories. We'll see. Just a tremendous doubleheader. There's compelling stuff with all 4 of these teams, which normally is the case, but this feels about as good and intriguing as we could possibly get. And Tuesday is actually loaded. 3 other games just to real quickly hit on. They're all Gavitt's. You got Marquette, Illinois. The intrigue there is that Tyler Kolek twisted his ankle in Marquette's win Friday. Unless something has been updated in the past 90 minutes, his status is still unknown in terms of his availability. Him not playing, it could literally be the difference between Marquette winning or not on the road against Illinois. That's a really fun matchup. If that's your number 3 option, then that's a really, really good game, Kolick or no Kolick. Iowa's at Creighton. It's their first meeting in 12 years. Obviously, geographically, they're relatively close. Peyton Sanford of Iowa has been averaging 19 and 10.5 through 2 games. Keep an eye on him. Creighton going to be expected to win, but get a good look at Creighton against a power conference opponent. And then Wisconsin at Providence. Bucky now goes on the road after having a good chance at home. Another power conference opponent. Kim English with his first big test. We'll see how he does in the cozy confines of the dunk, and we'll see what Providence can do there. So Gavitt games, holding plenty. There's some good stuff there, and Tuesday night we'll be loaded. We will be coming at you with a ton to talk to bright and early, 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning.
KenPom has it if you're interested. Duke 71, Michigan State 68, Kansas 75, Kentucky 71, Illinois 73, Marquette 72. So KenPom's got Illinois projected to beat Marquette, largely because the game is being played at Illinois. And then Iowa at Creighton. KenPom has that Creighton 85, Iowa 76. I will say with Creighton, we all had Ryan Kalkbrenner as a preseason All-American, or at least All-American candidate early through 2 games. He's Creighton's 4th leading scorer. Early. And defensively, his impact can't be. 11 points, 3.5 rebounds. Trey Alexander, 20.5 points, 5-point rebounds, 4.5 assists. He's been awesome. At Marquette, obviously the Tyler Kolick situation should be monitored. My little homie from Memphis is off to a nice start.
Cam.
21.5 points, shooting 56% from the field, 50% from 3, 87.5% from the free throw line. That's a proud ECS graduate representing the Bluff City proudly in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Cam Jones.
Jones.
I got one more pod update before we get out of here.
Let's go.
Shouts to Leaky Black. Got his first NBA bucket on Sunday. Playing for the Hornets. Playing for Nada's Hornets. Nada.
If he'd have done more of that last season, maybe they could have made the NCAA tournament.
Nada, real quick. Did Leaky score more than 2? I don't have a box score. I just know that he scored. I know he scored a bucket. Did he finish with 2 points?
He finished with 2 points.
All right, there we go. Shouts to you, Leaky Black. Whatever. Got 2 points in the NBA game. Good on you playing for the hometown team.
Hey, it's 2 more than you got.
2 more than I'll ever get.
I'm not willing to say I'll never get one.
I'm willing to say it.
I'm not willing to that. Have you seen the Grizzlies lately?
You try and turn that one around on them. See how that goes.
I could end up playing for the Grizzlies before this is over.
Is there like a 0.001% part of you that's like you walk in, you do your daily show, you do it right there in the arena, and you're like, man, if things really go, if they go wrong, like, and they keep going down the list here, you're like, it's like, what was that show? Designated Survivor. Yeah. There's a list somewhere out there of like the number 304th person that's in line for the presidency. Is that what you're hoping for? Is there a tiny part of you that fantasizes about that? Because I'll tell you what, I'd love to see it.
There is a part of me that fantasizes about that. I thought you were about to ask me if I'm worried about losing my job.
No.
Okay, because I was like, who do I look like? Jake LaRavia?
No, I'm saying, yo, we need a 12th guy. Like, we just gotta have someone. We gotta have someone that we can put a uniform on here.
I would at least keep it light, you know. And I'd monitor things. Like if somebody tried to go live on Instagram with a pistol, I'd be like, no, we can't do that. Can't do that.
That's true.
So I would bring value. I mean, I don't know how much I'd help on the court, but I feel like I could. You know, certainly if we've ever gotten to an extortion situation, I'd be able to handle that. I'd probably be better equipped to handle that than, say, Bismack Biyombo. But you never know.
We're wrapping here, by the way. Listen, we program the show as best we can to a wide audience. I think the Hoosiers are going to win, but as we wrap here to our live audience, it's 56-52 with 8:45 to go. Hoosiers are up against Army. So,
but they're a blue blood program, Norlander. They'll be fine.
They should. I think they're going to pull it out. But I at least want, because the chat was buzzing about it earlier, I at least want to acknowledge, like, we are aware, and I was following, but this show is going to wrap before we can, if we can get. How about this? How about if Indiana loses? In about
I come back and do 15 minutes live by myself.
If Indiana loses, Parrish hops on, does the 15-minute solo pod, and we get that.
What would be better than me, half drunk on a Sunday night in a Baby Billy shirt, doing 15 minutes on Army over Indiana?
Oh my gosh.
But I'm not worried about that. Indiana's a blue blood program. They're not going to lose the Army. I mean, that's crazy. And I know what somebody's thinking. GP, they ain't even finished in the top 25 at KenPom since 2016. And I hear you. And then somebody else is probably yelling, they finished 3 games back of Purdue last season. What are we doing? And I'd be like, listen, I know. And then somebody else is probably about to jump in the chat. I know how the chat works. Somebody else is probably about to say, GP, Mike Woodson's been there 2 years. They've underachieved relative to preseason expectations both years. I know. But it's still Indiana. I mean, my God, it's Indiana.
I'm here for you, Hoosier fans. You're gonna pull this out. I got you with an 8-point win. Feeling good, heading home.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll pull
Most
it
people
out.
are gonna listen to this on Monday, and this is gonna be well in the rear view. Who knows how this is gonna go for me?
Oh, they'll pull it out. They're fine. Indiana's fine.
Let's shout them.
Like they're gonna be. I mean, am I certain they'll be the second best team in the state of Indiana this year? I'm not certain, but I'd still bet on it.
Let's go.
And I know there was a time where Indiana was like the king of Indiana. Like it'd be crazy to even talk about anybody else speaking. But we ain't there right now. We ain't been there in a while.
Let's go.
But I'm sure they'll be fine. It's a blue blood program. And I know they haven't finished in the top 25 at KenPom since 2016, but you don't have to do that to beat Army. You should be able to beat Army anyway. I suspect that they will. If not, see you in 20 minutes. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry MF and Teagle Legend. Shouts to Huck. Shouts to Larnell. Shouts to Uncle Baby Billy. You don't know Uncle Baby Billy.
I'm unfamiliar.
That's Uncle Baby Billy. Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, you know what? That's on the to-do list. I just finished like 4 or 5 nights ago, The Last of Us. I'm aware I'm like 7 months behind, but I watched it.
Good. It was good.
Great stuff. Enjoyed it. I thought that it was a one season only kind of thing, and then the way that episode ended, I was like, this is how this show is going to end. So then I did the Google, and I was like, nope, there's going to be a second season. I was like, okay, that makes more sense there. If you've not yet watched The Last of Us, I thought it was good. Put it this way, and this is going to be a minority opinion. A lot of people love The Leftovers. I was fine with it. I enjoyed the first season of The Last of Us more than The Leftovers, and they're not exactly the same, but they're kind of in the same realm there. I thought The Last of Us was better. I really loved it. Pedro Pascal, dude's awesome, and him and the girl who was in it with them, I thought that it was tremendous. Good
Sister
stuff.
Jean.
Not Sister Jean. So anyway, that being said, I have not yet gotten to the Righteous Gemstones. I will do so. I'll do so eventually.
Funniest show on television.
Well, he's awesome.
Uncle Baby Billy?
Well, no.
Danny McBride.
Walton Goggins is just a phenomenal actor. If you've never seen him on
Hilarious.
Justified, just incredible.
Hilarious.
And The Shield. I'm all in on Walton Goggins. Spot Walton
Dude, him as Baby Billy. Like, if the only thing that prevents him from being a superstar is just enough people don't watch that show. He is hilarious. The whole show's hilarious. You'll love it. I can't wait till you watch it. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple, Spotify. More of us than there are of them. More of us than there are of them. The Last of Us is a different show.
Oh, I forgot to mention Northern Arizona got destroyed by Grand Canyon, 89-55. That was part of the Whiparound. Destroyed.
We needed to know that?
I just felt like it needed to be brought up.
Maybe we needed to know that. Like Deadleg said, we're going to talk to you Wednesday morning.
What's the plan?
Well, that's the plan. Deadleg says that's the plan. We'll be back Wednesday morning, unless we're back